Good morning. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, he spoke in the Parliament yesterday on Operation Sindoor. He made a couple of remarks. I have picked up some of them which I want to discuss in the video now. But before I do that, a bit about Jaishankar the man needs to be said. In September of 2016, when the Modi government did the so-called surgical strikes inside Pakistan, Jaishankar was India's Foreign Secretary. In that capacity, in October 2016, he briefed the Parliament Committee on External Affairs, and this is what he had to say about the operation. That it was an operation where the Indian Army did target-specific, limited caliber, counter-terror operations across the line of control. These were done in the past also. This time, the government decided to go public about it. In other words, own those operations. Now, this is what he said then. Today, Jaishankar refers to the same thing as surgical strike, knowing fully well that surgical strike is nothing close to a counter-terror low-caliber action. He refers to that as surgical strike meant to send a sharp lesson to Pakistan. So, this is the transformation that has happened between Jaishankar the diplomat and Jaishankar as a hardcore BJP minister. Please keep this in mind as I discuss the points that he mentioned in the parliament. Now, in no particular order, Jaishankar said that after 1947-48, referring to the first war of Kashmir, two fronts were created. And he said because of those two fronts, referring to China and Pakistan, because of those two fronts, 1963 happened. Now he is referring to Pakistan giving the Shaksam Valley to China. 1966 happened. This is when the construction of Parakram highway started. 1976 happened, which is when reports came that China was giving restricted nuclear technology to Pakistan. Now you see he's got it all wrong. Because when you use the word front is a military terminology. In diplomacy, you talk about things like cooperation, strategic cooperation, comprehensive strategic cooperation. As the partnership between the countries grows thicker and thicker, you use these terminologies. So what was there at that time and why? Because when we talk of front, what it means is that there is a military line and both the sides' militaries are holding it. Because they are holding it, so both the militaries, this reality, they dovetail into their war planning and their war appreciation. What had happened after the first war of Kashmir was there was one front with Pakistan, but against China there was a disputed border, but the Chinese never brought their soldiers there, only their border guards, which are reconnaissance elements, they were there on the border. So it was not front, it had not become a front yet. What had happened on the other hand was that the partnership, the strategic partnership between China and Pakistan grew. He is referring to all those dates. And also in 1999, when the Kargil conflict happened, General Musharraf, he travelled to Beijing, asking them for the wherewithal to fight the conflict with India, which he was of course given because the partnership was like that. Now, the second front got created after Doklam 2017. This is the time when in their Western Theatre Command, the PLA brought large number of soldiers, very large numbers of soldiers, and Western Theatre Command is pitted against India, and this is the largest command of China. This is when the second front got created. Then this front, it became live. In April of 2020, when the PLA came and occupied Indian territory in East Ladakh, and India was forced to also send their troops, and the build-up happened and the standoff started. So it became live then. What was already a second front. Now, when Sindoor happened, what we saw was that the live front of Pakistan, it didn't exist. It had become a one reinforced front. where the Chinese, the PLA gave all the capabilities to fight the Indian military in those 4 days of Sindoor without showing their hand. So the point to make is, Mr. Jaishankar, that there was only one front from 1948 to 2017 till Doklam happened. Second front was created by the Modi government, and then it became a one reinforced front once again by the Modi government. Therefore, when Jaishankar said in the parliament his speech that it is Modi government that built the infrastructure on the line of actual control with China 4 times more than done by the previous government, I don't know what he was saying. Because it is the Modi government that created the front. It is the Modi government that made it live. So it is the Modi government to take the troops up and to support the logistics had to make the infrastructure. Simple as that. Now, his next point. Jaishankar says that India will never bow to the nuclear blackmail of Pakistan, but they never blackmailed you. If anything, you bow to the conventional war escalation threat of Pakistan. That is what happened in those 4 days, and as a consequence of this, something terrible happened. Let me explain that terrible part. After the 1971 war, when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi created Bangladesh, a message went to the entire world that in terms of conventional military power, India was superior than Pakistan. And that is what was punctured, it was destroyed by Operation Sindoor, where the world came to a conclusion in getting a glimpse of a war of 4 days in Operation Sindoor, that actually the Pakistan military turned out to be a peer military competitor of the Indian military. So what a fall this was, please understand, Mr. Jaishankar, and as a consequence of that, the profile, global profile of General Asim Munir, Army Chief of Pakistan, shot up and their foreign policy got a major boost. Now, next he said, Jaishankar, that the opposition, basically referring to the Congress, that they say that why did you, if you were doing so well on the 10th of May, why did you agree to a ceasefire? Why not take back POK militarily? So he says, my response to them is, at least we did something. The Congress government did nothing when 26/11 happened. Once again, he is wrong and he is completely missing the background. I'll explain. He says no action was taken. Why? Because of what the Vajpayee government had done in Operation Parakram. Operation Parakram started in December 2001, ended in October 2002, 10 months long military standoff where the entire Indian army was mobilized, a very big task against Pakistan. Nobody fired a shot. We threatened, we went up and we came back. We lost about 8,000 crores rupees in this. More important, without firing a shot by either side, India lost at least 1,000 soldiers. How? Please read the book of your BJP ex-minister General V.K. Singh. It is called Courage and Conviction. He will give you the details, what was the preparedness at that time of the Indian military under the BJP government which ordered this Parakram. Now, anybody knows in this country that when you have in those 10 months of Parakram extensive wear and tear of equipment, when there is massive depletion of war wastage reserves, the mines especially, which of course didn't work also, and when the operational logistics are completely wonky, there was a big problem in mobilization because nobody had done a mobilization. This was the first time being done after the 1971 war. So getting the trains, the rolling stock, there were a lot of issues here. So given the state of the procurement, the military procurement in the Indian system, Anybody will tell you the Indian military after Parakram, when it came back, it needed 10 years minimum to become war worthy. Parakram finished in October of 2002. 26/11 happened in 2008. Obviously, it was not ready. It was the only option not to take military action, and it was a sensible option that the Manmohan Singh government did. Because Manmohan Singh government did not want to do that you start a kinetic action and then you suddenly ask for a ceasefire, that I don't want to do escalation. Something that the Modi government has repeatedly done in 2016 and 2019 when Balakot happened. The next day the Pakistan army came, Indian army said yes, this is an act of war, did nothing. Same thing happened in 2025. Now, then Jaishankar says that our action, what we did on the 6th, 7th May into Pakistan was non-escalatory and proportionate. I can't understand how it was non-escalatory. I mean, you're firing missiles inside Pakistan, breaching their sovereignty, hitting deep inside Pakistan, in the heart of Pakistan, Punjab, Bhavalpur and Murid, and then you expect them to say nothing and you call this non-escalatory. I mean, only he will understand this, how it was non-escalatory. Now, next point he makes is, once again, getting after the government of the day, the Congress government. He says in 2009, this is when the Manmohan Singh government was in power, the Chinese started giving stapled visa to residents of Arunachal Pradesh. Once again wrong. There's a background to this. And the background is the visit of Prime Minister Vajpayee in 2003 to China. It was during this visit that India formally accepted TAR, Tibet Autonomous Region, as a part of China. And once India formally accepted that, the Chinese then said that Arunachal Pradesh is South Tibet, that it is ours, and then this 2009 thing happened. So the background is that. And again, in 2010, Chinese Prime Minister Wen Jiabao, he came to India. At that time, a day before he came, the Chinese embassy in India announced publicly that our border with India is only 2000 kilometers. Jaishankar at that time was India's ambassador in China. He was asked and he said, no, it is 3488 kilometers. So Jaishankar is aware of the whole thing. As I said, the whole thing started then with the Vajpayee government. Next, Jaishankar says that after Sindoor, a new normal has been set, and where he said the new normal is 5 things. That terrorism and talks can't go together, that we will not yield to nuclear blackmail. This is not new normal. This is the government policy. Please make a distinction between policy and new normal. New normal has to do with the military thing. After Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Modi, when he paused it, he said a new normal is created. The Prime Minister said, and he was right. So what is the new normal that has been created? I'm not talking of the policy that Jaishankar is giving out. The new normal was that now when anything happens between India and Pakistan, the start point will be that right from Jammu and Kashmir down till Gujarat, both the countries are free to use long-range missiles and drones. This is the new normal that has been created after Sindoor, on which Prime Minister has given a pause. What that means is, if I go a step further, when you have these missiles firing, which is firing for the first time, you see the missiles came in the subcontinent between India and Pakistan in 80s, but nobody fired it. With this firing, the entire land battlefield changes, because there will be nothing called a rear, there will be nothing called a front, there will be nothing called or left or right of the battlefield. Which means that Mr. Jaishankar is advised to tell the CDS to start thinking about the army's structural reorganization. in light of this new normal that has been created. Now, next is Jaishankar spoke about that look, Wen Jiabao, Premier Wen Jiabao of China, he came in 2005, and there was the government of the day, which is of course the Manmohan Singh government, they had a comprehensive cooperation partnership with China. Please remember, in 2005 the situation was different. There was no front with China at all. As I said, it got created in 2017. So the relations were normal between India and China, and the government of the day understood very well that cooperation was necessary with China if India had to improve economically. Of course, Jaishankar does not agree with that, but see what Jaishankar has done. On the one hand, he says that there will be no normal ties with China. Then he also says that India's efficiency cannot be built on Chinese efficiency, and let me remind him that in the year 23-24, when the situation is not normal between India and China, China was India's primary trading partner. And he himself alluded in his comments that I visited China. I wanted to trade with them, the trade restrictions. Of course, they are putting the trade restrictions. And it is very difficult. See, if India keeps talking about becoming a 4 trillion, 5 trillion, you cannot become if there is no cooperation with China. Let's be very clear about that. And he knows it. And the other reason why you went there, the defense minister went there, and the prime minister will also go there very soon, is because they have the presidency of SCO. And India wants to see that next year, when the BRICS presidency is there with India, China supports it. Without China's support, India's BRICS presidency simply cannot succeed. It will not be a success. And Jaishankar knows about that. Then Jaishankar further also says that, the Congress government had been discussing this partnership. He is referring to the RCEP, which is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It's a partnership of 15 Asia Pacific nations, where the Manmohan Singh government had been discussing this for a long time, and then the Modi government came and snapped out of it, came out of the whole thing. And he says that, why should we have normal, because then the Chinese would have flooded our place with their stuff, with their overcapacity. So he says all that. But what he needs to see is that when you talk of today RCEP, from where unfortunately the Modi government has pulled out, 30% of the world population is there. Their GDP is 30% of the world. And all the partners of India, which is Australia, Japan, these are the Quad partners, South Korea, New Zealand, they all are part of this RCEP. Why? Because all these countries understand that if they want to stabilize economically, the partnership with China is absolutely critical. Without that, it will not work. And Jaishankar also knows that. Then he goes further and says, he talks about Huawei, that we didn't take Huawei. Of course you didn't. It was dismissed on political grounds, not on technical grounds. And he said that now we have a 5G of our own. Once again, wrong. The entire hardware of 5G has been imported. India does not make any semiconductors, any ICs, integrated circuits, everything comes from outside. So the whole issue was about cyber security, and you cannot trust China less or America more. All countries have to be tackled equally, and you have to build up your cyber capabilities. So anyway, the point that I am making is very simple, that this government's foreign policy is not on the right tracks. I have said this repeatedly. We need cooperation with China, we need cooperation with Pakistan. And in his entire speech, 80% of the speech, Jaishankar, was basically after the Congress government. I don't know why. Because as I've explained everything, the entire burden of what has gone wrong falls on the Modi government. Thank you so much.